Today I'm going to show you how to do some simple video analysis using Logopro. We're going to look at a bouncing ball. So the first thing we're going to do is insert the movie. So we're going to go up to the top here, click on Insert, Movie, and we're going to find one that I've saved to my drive. This one here. And here we've got just a standard movie. You could have one that you've done yourself. This is one I've taken off the internet. So we're going to look at a ball being dropped. The first thing we're going to do is click in the bottom corner here on this little red dots, and that's going to give us some different options here for analysis. So one thing that we want to do is set the origin of the ball, so the point where it's going to be effectively the 0 point of the graphs. So we're going to click on this one here with the little axes on, and then I'm going to make my origin from the bottom of the ball here. If you could choose to do it from the floor, but in this case I'm going to choose the ball. So we click there. That's now the point that it's going to measure everything from. I also want to tell the program how to scale the information. So I'm going to click on this one here, this ruler where it says set scale. If I click on that, and here in this video we've actually got a meter long scale marked, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to click on the top of that, hold my mouse key down, drag to the bottom of that and release, and now it gives me the options as it is. It's set correctly to 1 meter, but if you had a different thing you could change that, and click on OK. Okay, so now the computer knows how to scale it. And then what I want to do is press on this button here where it says add point, and this is going to move the movie through frame by frame. And I'm going to mark the points I want it to take a recording of distance of versus this origin point that I've put in. So if I click on that, and the first point is going to be at the origin, so I'm going to click as best I can on that point. Then I'm going to click again. It's hardly moved, so I'm going to leave it pretty much in the same position. Click again, and I'm going to try and keep selecting the bottom of the ball. So to start with, those are going to be almost the same point. Now as the ball starts to move further, you can see a bigger difference. So we're going to keep clicking. So each of these frames represents the same amount of time having passed, but because the ball's accelerating due to gravity, the distance it moves in each frame is getting bigger and bigger. So this isn't a particularly high quality of video. If you record with a higher frames per second, then you're going to get a less blurred and clearer image. So obviously this is going to be one of my sources of error, the fact that I'm having to kind of guess a little bit where the edge of the ball is as it gets faster and faster. So you can see now it's hit the floor and it's starting to deform, and then it's going to bounce up again. So I'm going to keep doing the same process, and I could keep on going for as long as I want to through multiple bounces, but I'm going to just go to the top of this first bounce and stop in this case as best I can. You can see it's starting to slow down. Under gravity it's decelerating, and we've reached about the top of our bounce, and now it's time to go down again. So I'm going to stop there, click on stop. I'm going to just click out of Logopro and click on here as well. So now the video's gone into the background. Now you can see it's collected my data, and it's automatically, if I just pull this out a little bit, yeah. So it's got y, which is my distance from the origin. You can see it's plotted that on the graph here, so I've got this nice little bouncing ball shape. So this is effectively my height of the ball. It's worked out my x velocity, which I'm not interested in. It's not moving in the x direction, so I'm not really interested in that. It's also worked out my y velocity, which currently isn't shown on the graph. Now in this experiment, I'm interested in looking at the energy changes, kinetic and potential energy. And if you know your formulas, we actually have already enough information here to work that out. So we've got our y, which is our height, which we can get potential energy from. We've got our velocity in the y direction, which we can get our kinetic energy from. So to get those plotted onto the graph in Logger-Pro, I'm going to go to Data. I'm going to go to New Calculated Column. And I'm going to, for example, do kinetic energy. Give it a name, KE. And then I can do a function calculation in a similar way to how you would in Excel or Google Sheets. So in this case, I want to use the velocity. So KE equals a half mv squared. So I'm going to click on Variables. I'm going to choose my y velocity, so my v. And then I want to multiply it by itself to get v squared. So y velocity times y velocity. Then I can multiply it by a half, so my half mv times by the mass, which I think the video told us was 0.35, let's say, something like that. So our half mv squared, that's going to give me my kinetic energy. So I'm done. I've got that. You can see the columns appeared here. You can do the same process for potential energy. Again, just go to Data, add New Calculated Column, and this time you're going to put in the formula using your y times mass times 10 or 9.81 for gravity. Now I want to show these on the graph. In this case, I'm not really interested in x, and in fact I'm going to, just to make the graph simpler, I'm going to get rid of my v as well. So I just go onto the graph screen, right click, so I get graph options. And if I go here, currently it's x and y selected, so I don't want to show those. I want to show just my kinetic energy. There we go, done. And then now we can see my kinetic energy. So when we've stopped, from when we started dropping the ball, it was at 0, not moving. As the velocity speeds up, we get it peaking just before the bounce, and then we can see the same, then reducing again. Then the same process happening as we go through the next bounce, getting to 0. So you will typically find something sort of strange happening during the bounce because of the ball deforming. And if we did the same process, we could also select to put potential energy on, and we should of course see that as the inverse. So you should see that as high to start with and dropping as it goes on. So that's how to do data analysis using video on Logger-Pro.